Towards the end of my time serving in AmeriCorps with City Year, I had a couple of students that I was focusing on in my pullout group. There was one day in particular, this was right towards the end of the school year, maybe a couple of months out, that these students, I was having trouble getting them to actually come out for the pullout group. Recently, our classroom had gotten a set of computers, and so the students in their free time wanted to play the games on there. One of these games, the particular favorite of these students in my pullout group, was about Greek mythology. And knowing this, and in trying to get them to come in to work on their literacy and other things, I thought, well, I actually know something about Greek mythology. So I said, okay, you guys want to know about mythology? I can tell you a lot about it. So that got them interested. And they came in, and so we did our work together. And it was such a success that one of these kids in my pullout group suggested that we as City Year should put on an event based on mythology. And I took him at his word, and so I started to plan this event. Now again, this was towards the end of the school year, and our City Year team had just put on a really big event for the whole school. So at this point in time, my teammates were pretty tired. And to really be truthful, we were all a little burned out. So looking at this with my fellow teammates, I had initially planned this event so that we'd all be working, we'd all be planning this time together, this mythological event. What I decided to do instead, seeing how tired my teammates were, was I took on a lot of the burden for the planning to make it easier for them so that they could just kind of go out and do whatever myth they were going to be doing, but all that work getting put into it had been done beforehand. It made it a lot easier for them to go in and help with this event. The consequence of this is that after our service year was done, I was sick for about a month just from having had all of this work put on me. Now, I wish I could say that I learned my lesson from this event, that I leaned on people much more after that. The truth is I didn't. And the truth is that I'm still working to do that. I'm still working to be better about not putting everything on myself and relying on others to help with that work. And that's really important because our work as a church can't just be on one person. It's not supposed to be on one person. And that's part of what we see in our Old Testament reading today. So in that reading, we see Moses. And Moses has been burdened by all of this work that he has, leading the people of Israel into the promised land. And so God appoints 70 elders to help Moses in his work, in his life, in his ministry. And in this reading, we see this ceremony for where all these 70 have an allotment of the Spirit come down upon them. We see them prophesying as a result of that Spirit coming in them. But there's two people who aren't there And these two people are still in the main camp with the rest of the Israelites. And all of a sudden, even though they're not there at the ceremony, the Spirit comes down on them and they start prophesying. But then Joshua, Moses' right-hand man, his assistant in everything, sees this. And he runs to Moses and he tells him, "No, you got to stop this. They can't be doing this." And it's then that Moses says to Joshua, "Are you jealous for my sake? Would that the Lord's people were all prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit on them." Moses is saying that all of us should be part of this work. All of us should have this power of Spirit in their lives. Because how much better, how much easier would the work that God has given us to do be if all of us were doing this work? If all of us were leaders? If all of us were filled with that power of the Holy Spirit to the brim? Moses' words are still our hope for today. Our hope still is that we all would be prophets and leaders in the church and in the world. Our hope still is that we all come together to do God's work. Because again, how much better would it be for the world, for the church, for God's mission in the world, if we all were leaders and partook equally in that mission? My hope in my time here at St. Luke's, for however long it is that God determines that time to be, is that each and every one of you will come up and take on leadership in this church. Because the truth is that the work of God can't be done by one or a few. I can't do this work alone. Even if I wanted to, I don't have that ability. And that's true for all of us, no matter what our leadership position is. We cannot do this work alone. But the hope is that we can come together as St. Luke's so that we don't have to do that work alone, so that we all are doing that work together. That we are all doing that work as one. And my hope is that that's what we can do. That we can build each other up so that we can all be great leaders of this church. That is my hope for you. So help me do that. Help me help you to be these great leaders, to build each other up as great leaders, so that we can be strengthened in our work here at St. Luke's, and so that we can all the better work together to fulfill God's mission, God's work in this world.